Revealed, the amazing moment a soldier and K-9 discovered a hidden little girl whispering for help. Jake Thompson stood at the edge of the dark woods, the weight of his past heavy on his shoulders. The storm clouds loomed, matching the turmoil in his heart as he listened to the whispers of the wind rustling through the trees. He wasn't just another ex-soldier anymore, he was a brother, a son, a caretaker. With every step he took towards the dense thicket, he felt a surge of urgency. Missing girl, Emily. The town needed hope, much like he needed a purpose. The memories of his father flooded him, laughter, warmth, but shadows too. After their loss, Jake had to be the man, shoulder the burden of caring for his single mother and bright-eyed sister, Mia. Each day was a struggle to keep the flickering flame of hope alive in their home, and tonight, it might just extinguish forever if they didn't find Emily. As he scanned the area, his loyal K-9 partner Duke barked, sensing something or someone. "Duke, come on," he urged, the fire within him igniting. They stepped deeper into the woods, thickening with dread and desperation. Suddenly, whispers reached his ears above the thunder rumbling in the distance. Low and soft, they felt like both a plea and a warning. "Emily?" he called, doubt creeping in. The shadows danced around him, echoes of his own fears, causing his chest to tighten as he imagined Mia alone and lost. The creaky old barn appeared like a ghost, looming amidst the chaos. "What do you think, boy?" Jake asked Duke, whose nose quivered with anticipation. Thunder cracked overhead as they stepped onto the worn porch. The door creaked open, revealing a dim interior. The moment he entered, the whispers became a wail, a frightened little voice cut through the storm. Holding his breath, Jake turned towards the sound. There she was, Emily, huddled in the corner, her wide eyes shimmering with terror. Relief washed over him, but it quickly twisted into panic. He could feel the eyes of his community judging him through the barn walls. "Hey, it's all right," he said, kneeling down, his heart racing as memories of his own sister flooded back. "Are you okay, Emily?" He reached out, his hand trembling with emotion. An instant connection sparked. She nodded, if only just, and in that shared moment of vulnerability, Jake felt something awaken inside him, a purpose, a fire, the echo of service that had been dormant since he returned home. But lurking outside, doubt brewed like the storm whispers of the townsfolk questioning his worth, his motives. As Jake started to comfort Emily, imagining the judgment that awaited him, he pushed the thought aside. A core truth blossomed in him. He had fought for his country, but tonight, he was fighting for his town. Fighting for hope when despair threatened to take it all. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Jake's determination solidified as he kneeled beside Emily, aware that his battles weren't just external, they were woven into the fabric of his community. Outside, the storm raged, but within the old barn, a light flickered in the darkness. Could he mend the tattered connections in this town? Could he rebuild the trust that had eroded with time? Answers hung heavy in the air, echoed by the whispered pleas of both Emily and the spirit of unity desperately needed in his heart. As Jake took a deep breath, he knew acceptance was a fight worth pursuing, and change was just a storm away. "Emily, what happened? How did you end up here?" Jake asked, feeling the weight of every second ticking away. The storm felt like it was closing in around them, but all he could focus on was the girl before him, her little body trembling. He gently brushed back her hair to get a better look at her face. Those big, frightened eyes filled with tears were a mirror of the innocence he sought to protect. I was playing hide and seek," she stammered, her voice trembling. "But I hid too far and, they didn't find me." It was as if each word she spoke was a gust of wind, pushing fear out of her fragile frame. Jake's heart ached hearing her, and the memories of Mia came rushing back, her laughter, her imagination, and even her times of feeling lost. Jake wrapped his arms around her, feeling the small warmth of her body against him. "You're safe now, Emily. I've got you," he whispered, feeling the weight of those words settle in his chest. Minutes felt like hours as the storm continued to crack overhead, punctuated by the howl of the wind. Duke moved closer, nuzzling Emily's hand to provide comfort and reassurance. "Look, Duke found you too," Jake said softly, managing a small smile as Emily's expression transformed. "I'm not scared anymore," she replied, wiping her tears with the back of her hand, a spark of bravery igniting within her. Just then, the dull sound of thunder shook the barn, followed by the sudden creak of the old roof. They exchanged a glance, an unspoken agreement to act quickly. Let us get you home, okay?" Jake suggested, knowing the urgency of their situation. He stood, extending his hand to her. She hesitated for just a moment before grasping his fingers, her little palm fitting into his like it was meant to be. The two of them moved towards the exit, but as they stepped outside, the downpour hit them like cold hands grasping at their pant legs. The light flickered from the barn door, revealing silhouettes of people gathered nearby. Jake's heart raced at the sight, but something inside him cracked like the lightning illuminating the sky. This was his chance to bring hope. "Jake!" A voice called out through the storm. "Mia." He could see her running towards them, a drenched figure full of concern. Relief flooded his senses, the last puzzle piece had arrived. "Is she all right?" The fear painted across Mia's face made him want to shield both girls from the world. "She is," Jake said, his voice steady. "We're getting her home." But as he spoke, he noticed a shift among the crowd. The townsfolk stepped closer, concern etched on each face. Yet alongside that worry was something else: judgment. "Are you sure she is safe with him?" murmured one voice, and Jake's heart sank. Disbelief slithered through the onlookers. He could feel the heat of their stares, a weight heavy on his chest. All the shadows of doubt he'd been trying to shake off crept back in, whispering, stinging. "Enough!" Mia suddenly shouted, standing tall beside Jake, defiant against the storm. "He found her. Can't you see that?" The flicker of confidence in Mia's voice mixed with the thunder above, igniting something deep inside of Jake. He had a choice to make in that moment. To let the doubt cripple him or rise against it, not just for Emily, but for his family, that bond that held them all together. "Mia's right," he called to the crowd, taking a step forward. "I may not have the answers, but I will protect our community. Let us find a way to work together." His voice rang out, despite the storm roaring in reply, a rallying cry in the night. But just as the townspeople began to murmur amongst themselves, a harsh sound cut through the air, an unusual rustling from the woods. Jake turned sharply, heart pounding. "What was that?" he muttered, the hairs on the back of his neck standing tall. He couldn't shake the feeling they weren't alone. As shadows moved within the trees at the far edge of the clearing, something primal stirred in him. This search wasn't over, it was only just beginning. Jake's instincts kicked in. The rustling grew louder, and a figure emerged from the shadows, moving quick and low among the underbrush. It was hard to see clearly through the sheets of rain, but Jake felt the tension rise among the townsfolk. They stepped back, uncertainty and fear mingling in their eyes. "Mia, stay close to Emily," he shouted over the howling wind. Taking a protective stance in front of the girls, he squinted into the darkness. The thought of anything or anyone endangering Emily sent adrenaline pumping through his veins. The figure, drenched and shivering, stepped into the weak light spilling from the barn. It was a boy, just a few years older than Emily. His clothes were soaked, and his face was streaked with mud and fear. "Help!" he cried, his voice cracking. "There's something out there." Jake's heart raced. What do you mean? I heard it. The boy's voice trembled as he spoke, glancing back toward the woods. It's big. And it's not alone. We need to go. Before Jake could process the gravity of the boy's warning, a low growl rumbled through the air. Duke, sensing the shift, stepped forward, fur bristling, ready to defend. Jake could feel his pulse echoing in his ears. This night was spiraling into chaos. Everybody, we need to stick together. Jake urged, turning to the crowd. Keep calm. We'll find a way out of this. The rain had turned into a relentless downpour, soaking through Jake's clothes, yet he stood firm. He wouldn't let fear dictate their actions. A collective nod from Mia, from the silent townsfolk, reassured him they were in this together. Suddenly, another growl echoed, this one deeper, closer. Jake's heart pounded louder than the storm. The shadowy figure in the woods shifted again. All at once, it surged forward, a massive, dark shape emerging from the trees, glistening with rainwater. It was a dog, its eyes shining like lanterns. Whoa, easy boy. Jake called out, recognizing the loyal gaze that had once been a source of comfort. It was another K9, lost like Emily, like everyone who had wandered into the chaos of the storm. The crowd gasped, and even the mutated growl of fear morphed into uncertainty. It's just a dog. Someone shouted, cautiously stepping closer. The other dog advanced toward Duke, sniffing him curiously before looking up at Jake, as if recognizing him. Oh, thank goodness. You're with them, aren't you? Duke wagged his tail, leaning in closer, while the townsfolk relaxed, the fear shifting into hesitant relief. Jake, should we call for everyone else? Mia's voice wavered, pulling him back from the chaos that had started to settle. Yeah, he replied, glancing over to the woods. But first, we need to find shelter. Let us find the others. As they turned, the other K9 shifted beside Jake, urging him with a nudge. He could feel the unspoken bond between the animals, a bond of loyalty, love, and protection that they too needed to nurture. Just as they made their way toward the town, a shriek pierced the air, followed by more growls, this time multiple. A cold shiver ran down Jake's spine. What was that? He whispered, dread pooling in his stomach. Jake, we have to move now, Mia urged, her grip tightening on Emily's hand. Jake looked back to the woods, uncertainty brewing in his chest. He had promised to protect them, but now he felt the weight of a new truth pressing down. The storm wasn't their biggest threat anymore. In that moment, an unsettling question burrowed deep: what or who were they truly up against? The wind howled through the trees, carrying the distant echoes of terror. Jake gritted his teeth, forcing himself to hold steady. The rain poured down, drenching everyone, but the fear felt palpable in the air, clinging like the moisture. Come on, everyone! Jake shouted, rallying the group. He could see desperate faces, their eyes wide with confusion. The boy, still shaking, stood close by, his wild gaze darting back toward the woods. Did you see what it was? Jake asked, his voice low and urgent. I didn't see it, the boy stammered. But I heard it growling, like it was hunting. The words hung in the air. It was a sound none of them wanted to imagine. Stay close, Mia said firmly, positioning herself protectively beside Emily as Jake kept an arm out. They moved as one unit, a small band against the unseen chaos lurking just beyond the reach of the barn's light. Another shriek cut through the air, piercing the thrum of the storm. Jake felt it in his bones, the dread, the uncertainty clawing at his heart. But even in panic, he pushed forward, instinct guiding them toward the old town hall. Its sturdy walls were their only promise of safety. Jake, what if they're coming for us? Emily whispered, her eyes brimming with tears. They won't get to you, I swear, he replied, trying to sound more confident than he felt. The doubt gnawed at him, but he refused to let it show. Just as they reached the hall's heavy door, Duke growled sharply, his body tense at Jake's side. The other dog mirrored him, barking into the darkness. Their sudden protectiveness sent a chill through Jake. In a world filled with hidden dangers, how many threats remained unseen? "Shoo easy, boys," he murmured, petting Duke to calm him. They stepped inside, hearts racing. The old interior smelled of wood and dampness, a comfort in a storm. But there was little to ease the fear that loomed just outside. "Is everyone here?" Mia asked, glancing around, her brow furrowed. Jake squinted into the dim light, seeing several familiar faces huddled close together. "We need to find out if anyone is missing," he said, urgency clear in his voice. Suddenly, the boy from the woods reappeared at Jake's side, panic etched into his features. "I heard voices," he blurted, his words a rush. "In the trees. People calling for help." His revelation hit Jake like a slap. The search was only just beginning. "Are you sure?" They were whispering. "I think they're hurt," the boy insisted, eyes wide with sincerity. A mix of resolve and fear washed over Jake. The last thing he wanted was to head back into the darkness. But helping others was the core of who he was. He couldn't ignore a plea for help, not when it could be someone just like Emily. "Mia, stay here with Emily and the others," he began, but something in her eyes stopped him. "No, Jake. I can't just wait while people might be in danger," she interjected, voice steady yet filled with fear. "Then we'll go together," Jake conceded, already feeling that electric sense of responsibility reignite. He turned to the crowd, scanning their faces. "Who's with us?" Several raised hands and determined faces came to life in the half-light. Jake felt his heart swell with a sense of brotherhood. They were bound by a common goal, the hope of saving someone who might still be out there. As they prepared to leave the safety of the old hall, a thick fog rolled in, wrapping the world in an eerie blanket of shadows. Heartbeats quickened, heavy breaths hinted at unspoken fears. The uncertainty echoed in the back of Jake's mind, yet he stepped forward, the urge to protect and serve driving him. One last glance over his shoulder, he could hardly suppress the chill that slithered down his spine. What if it's too late? In that moment, a new determination surged through him. "We'll find them," he whispered fiercely, its intensity sparking a flicker of hope. With the cheers of their friends at their backs, they descended into the night and into chaos. The deeper they plunged into the unknown, the more the question clawed at Jake: how many of them would emerge from this storm, and how would it change them forever? The wind howled louder as they stepped out, the branches swaying ominously overhead. Jake felt the cold seep into his bones, every gust reminding him why they were here. The voices. The whispers. Someone needed them. Stick together, Jake urged as the small group moved deeper into the fog. Each whispered plea drew them closer, yet the darkness felt like a living thing, wrapping around them. The weight of responsibility pressed heavily on his shoulders. Mia looked to Jake, her eyes bright yet fearful. "Do you hear that?" she whispered, straining to catch every sound. The storms raged in the background, but a faint murmur floated through the night. Jake nodded. "It's coming from over there." He pointed into the shadows, his instincts sharpening. They moved as one, every footfall a battle against the fear clawing at them. Shadows danced around them, and the trees seemed to whisper secrets, a language that felt just beyond Jake's understanding. The boy followed closely, still trembling but his eyes now glimmering with resolve. The murmur grew clearer, pulling them closer. "Help, please, someone help, stay alert," Jake commanded, his heart pounding as the voice grew stronger. It was a girl, small and fragile. He could almost see her, small hands reaching out from under the canopy of darkness. "Don't be afraid," Mia called out into the shadows. They rushed forward, adrenaline pumping. The fog thickened, blurring the boundary between safety and danger. Suddenly, Duke barked, breaking through the haze, stopping Jake in his tracks. The dog was low to the ground, alert but unsure. "What's wrong, buddy?" Jake asked, kneeling down beside him. The low growl emanating from Duke sent a fresh rush of dread coursing through Jake's veins. Then he saw a small figure peeking from behind a gnarled tree, hair matted and clothes tattered. It was a girl, trembling under a veil of horror that had left her frozen with fear. "Over here!" Jake yelled, heart racing. He took a step forward but stopped when the girl flinched away. "It's okay. We're here to help you." She blinked, eyes wide, scanning the faces of the group. Jake could see her small frame shaking, dirt smudged on her cheeks, but there was something defiant shimmering in her gaze too, a flicker of hope. "Don't leave me," she whispered, her voice a haunting echo in the night. Jake's breath caught in his throat. "We won tea. Just come to us." Slowly, her small feet stepped forward, hesitant yet fueled by the urgency in Jake's voice. An unseen force pulled at her, a reminder of the darkness that lingered. He could feel the pull of time, each second stretched like an eternity as they waited for her to take that last step. Mia's eyes darted between Jake and the girl. "What if something's out there?" she asked, barely above a whisper. "We can't let fear paralyze us," Jake replied, focusing on the girl. "You're safe now. We'll face whatever is out there together." The girl blinked, tears spilling over as she crossed the threshold into safety. Jake took her hand and felt a rush of overwhelming relief. "You did it. You're safe here." But just as he felt hope blooming, a guttural growl rolled through the trees, rich with menace. The ground shook slightly, and Jake's gut nodded with fear. "What was that?" Mia gasped, her hand gripping Jake's arm. A rustling filled the air, something big moving through the underbrush. Jake turned to face the source, heart racing again. The girl pressed closer to him, clinging as if he could shield her from whatever was lurking just out of sight. "Everyone back," he instructed, his voice steady, but inside, panic threatened to erupt. They couldn't engage with another threat. Not when they had just found her. The thing was coming, silent but menacing like a shadow. "Jake! What do we do?" The boy's voice quivered beside him. As he scanned the darkness, a pulse of dread filled the air. It was time to stand their ground or run like hell. In that moment, Jake realized they had weaved into a far more dangerous night than they'd imagined. "We face it together. Are you with me?" The silence stretched, punctuated only by the pounding of his heart. Behind him, he heard murmurs of agreement, and an unexpected sense of unity swept over the group. But as the growl grew louder, a chilling thought crossed Jake's mind. What if this monster is worse than we feared? He turned to face the darkness, determination burning in his chest. They were here for the girl, whatever it took, they would fight for her. But what if they weren't strong enough? The trees shivered as the growl echoed around them, reverberating through the fog like a sinister promise. Jake's breath quickened, his grip tightening on the girl's small hand, now slick with sweat. He could feel her trembling, each shiver resonating with his own fear. "Stick close to me," Jake whispered, pulling her in protectively. Duke, sensing their anxiety, stood beside him, fur bristled, ready to defend. In that moment, it hit Jake hard. This wasn't just about bravery, it was about survival. They were up against something primal, something that fed on fear like a banquet. The murmurings of the girl, her fragile voice laced with desperation, fueled Jake's resolve. He couldn't let her down. "Everyone ready?" he asked, glancing at Mia and the boy. They nodded, fear etched on their faces but determination burning in their eyes. He was grateful for their solidarity, it made the weight feel a little lighter, even as the growl deepened. Suddenly, the shadows shifted, and Jake squinted into the thickening darkness. He expected something monstrous, something that would make his heart leap out of his chest. But when a figure finally emerged, he gasped. It wasn't just a monster. It was a large beast, sure, but there was humanity in its eyes, a flicker of something familiar and yet wild. It stood there, muscles taut, the color of the earth beneath the canopies, blending almost seamlessly into the shadows. The growl was deeper now, more of a warning than a threat. "What is that?" Mia's voice trembled, a mixture of fear and confusion painting her face. Jake couldn't shake the feeling of recognition that washed over him. "It looks like a wolf. But bigger," he said, adrenaline coursing through him. "And it seems scared?" Duke was growling softly, stepping forward, as though trying to communicate with the creature. Jake felt a chance brewing inside him, a flicker of possibility in the face of overwhelming dread. "Wait," Jake said, taking a tentative step forward. The group gasped, but something compelled him to approach the creature. "We're not here to harm. We need your help." The wolf's eyes locked onto Jake's, and for a fleeting moment, it felt as though time stood still. The tension was palpable. Around them, the wind howled, surrounding them like a threatening embrace. A whimper, maybe slipped from the wolf's throat, and Jake caught a flicker of what might have been understanding. It stepped closer, cautiously, the fur glistening in the faint light that pierced the fog. "Jake!" the boy urged, more than alarmed. "What are you doing?" "I don't know," Jake admitted, his heart racing. "But I can't run from this. I think it's trying to tell us something." The wolf drew nearer, nostrils flaring as it sniffed the air, assessing the strange group standing before it. Then it turned, slowly, and padded towards the thick brush behind it. It paused, looking over its shoulder, inviting them to follow. "Is it leading us somewhere?" Mia asked, her fear mixing with curiosity. Jake glanced at the girl beside him. Her eyes were wide, a mixture of fear and budding hope flickering behind them. "We should trust it," he said, and before the others could voice their concerns, he started after the wolf, heart pounding. The girl stepped forward, still clutching Jake's hand, and the rest followed close behind, warily keeping their eyes on the creature. As they moved, the growl faded into a hum of the forest, and the whispers that had called to them before grew louder again, a symphony of longing wrapped in mystery. But what lay ahead, Jake wondered. What did the wolf know about the danger that lurked in the shadows, and would they be ready to face it when it came? The sound of crashing leaves drew closer again, and a new wave of dread washed over Jake. Something else was here, something far worse. "Hold on tight," he instructed, steeling himself as they pressed deeper into the unknown. Where would they end up? And would they find more than just danger lurking in the dark? The wolf led them through the thickets, just ahead, gliding silently like a shadow. Jake's heart raced with every step, the tension in the air thick enough to suffocate. He quickly glanced back at Mia and the boy, ensuring they were still close. Their eyes held a blend of fear and fascination as they followed. "What do you think it wants?" Mia whispered, her voice barely breaking the silence. Jake shrugged, unsure how to respond. He just felt connected to this creature. It was an odd sensation, like they shared a silent understanding that extended beyond words. He wanted to believe it was guiding them out of danger, not leading them into it. They stumbled upon a clearing, the fog lifting momentarily to reveal a small stream shimmering under the dim light. The wolf paused, its fur glowing softly, and turned to look back at them. It was almost like it was saying, "This way." As they approached the edge of the stream, something caught Jake's eye. An object glinted, not just any object, but a necklace lying forgotten in the underbrush. He bent down and picked it up, brushing off the dirt. It was delicate, a small charm shaped like a heart, and suddenly memories flooded back to him, his sister's favorite trinket, lost years ago. "Jake? What is it?" The boy's question cut through his thoughts. "Just something from home," he replied, his voice thick with nostalgia. He pocketed the necklace, feeling a strange warmth spread through him, like a promise that there was still beauty left even in this chaos. "Look!" The girl pointed downstream. Jake followed her finger. There, at the edge of the water, lay a small figure curled up under a tangle of branches. His stomach twisted into knots. Is that? He didn't want to say it, didn't he want to believe they had found a child here, alone in the woods, trapped in a nightmare of forgotten fears. Duke barked softly, as if feeling their tension, and stepped forward, moving protectively to Jake's side. The wolf remained alert, watching the child closely, its posture low and cautious. Help! Please! A small voice trembled, weaving through the thickets of sound that surrounded them. Jake cursed himself for hesitating. Stay here, he ordered, glancing back at the others, though he wasn't sure how to protect them while rushing to this little girl. He started moving, inching closer to the figure, heart pounding like thunder in his chest. Don't be scared. We're here to help, he called out, pushing through branches that scratched at his skin. As he reached the edge of the water, he could see her clearly. The girl was no older than 8, her clothes torn and muddy, her face streaked with tears. She looked up, eyes wide and fearful, yet there was a flicker of relief behind them. Stay back, she cried, her little voice shaking. No, no, we're not here to hurt you, Jake reassured her, hands raised. My name is Jake. We want to help, I promise. Can you tell me your name? Emma, she whispered, her eyes darting between Jake and the wild wolf standing guard. Just then, a rustling echoed from the direction they'd come, sending a chill down Jake's spine. The growl returned, this time more menacing, full of intent. He turned, stomach knotting further. We have to go. Now. Jake! Mia shouted, panic gripping her voice. What is that? What do you think will come next? The boy echoed back, eyes darting nervously towards the dense underbrush. The wolf shifted, low and ready, and Jake felt the connection deepen. It was an invitation, a pact forged under a blanket of fear and urgency. Pulling Emma by the hand, he took a step back. This way. We're leaving. And as they sprinted into the unknown, the shadows behind them seemed to expand, growing closer, ready to devour whatever they could. Yet something stirred within Jake. Hope, perhaps. He looked back just once, finding the wolf still at his side. Whatever happens next would define not only their survival but also reveal deeper connections that Jake had never imagined possible. Could they escape the darkness closing in around them? Or would they have to confront the very fears they were running from? The group darted through the underbrush, heartbeats thundering in rhythm with their hurried steps. Jake could barely keep his mind in check, the wildness of the forest blurred into chaotic splashes of green and brown. Each rustle in the bushes felt like a warning, urging him to push harder, to go faster. Emma's small hand felt solid in his, and he gripped it tightly. Jake! Mia called, breathless. What are we running from? Something bad. He could barely form the words, adrenaline surging through his veins. The low growl followed them, deep and reverberating. Jake frequently glanced over his shoulder, expecting to see teeth glinting in the dim light, but the wolf stood firm, a shadowy guardian at their flanks, ever watchful. Over there! The boy shouted, pointing to a more open part of the thicket. The terrain was rocky, but they needed a place to regroup, to catch their breath. We can hide. Jake nodded. This way. They bounded over the scattered boulders, the wolf guiding them through the maze as if it knew the land intimately. The stream gurgled nearby, white noise that almost drowned out the growl. There was solace in the sound of water, it felt timeless, like a heartbeat that told them they were alive. Once they reached the clearing, Jake crouched, drawing Emma close to him while leaning against a large rock. The others did the same, huddled, breath coming in rasping gasps. Jake kept his eyes peeled, scanning the shadows. We have to keep quiet and listen. We can't let it find us. Mia beside him, her face pale and drawn, nodded earnestly. What if it's a pack of wolves? I don't know. Jake's voice was low. But we have each other, and that counts for something. Remember that. Emma's eyes were wide and glistening. I want to go home. Her voice broke, and the fear wrapped around them like a blanket. Jake felt the weight of it crush his chest. No one will hurt you. He whispered, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. We'll get you home, I promise. But then the growl came again, closer. It sent shivers down his spine, clawing at the edges of his bravado. The wolf stood still, its ears perked, body tense, eyes fixated in the direction of the sound. A moment hung heavy in the air, a pause filled with disbelief and dread. The rustling reached a crescendo, branches snapping, and suddenly out of the shadows two glowing eyes pierced the darkness. Jake's heart nearly stopped as a form revealed itself, a deer, startled and skittish, bolted past them, sending a shower of leaves into the air. Just a deer, Jake exhaled, relief flooding through him. But the reprieve was brief. The growl, it's still out there. Why is it hunting? Emma asked, her innocence piercing through the tension of their situation. Jake opened his mouth to answer but found he didn't have the words. Was it survival? Instinct? His thoughts tangled in regret. Maybe we can make a noise to distract it, the boy suggested, eyes brightening with a hint of bravery. Like something hurt. No. Jake said, shaking his head fiercely. We can't draw attention to ourselves. Yet even as he spoke, a part of him wondered if they needed to take some form of action. Was leaving this place really their only chance, or could they confront what lurked in the shadows instead? The stillness wrapped around them, heavy and foreboding as they remained crouched in silence. But Jake felt something shift in the air, the currents electric with anticipation, as if a storm of change was gathering. And then the growl came again, louder and more intimidating, echoing through the thicket like a warning bell. It's closer, he whispered, heart racing. Just when hope seemed dim, perhaps it was about to take another unexpected turn. Would they confront the creature that haunted them, or would the resolve to survive ignite something deeper within them? With a shared glance, the group instinctively knew one thing: they had to make a choice. The growl surged like a wave, filling the clearing with reverberating sound. Instinctively, they shrank deeper into the shadows, instinctively mimicking the wolf's tense posture. Jake glanced around, his heart pounding, searching for a decision. He felt Emma cling tighter to him, the warmth of her small body grounding him amidst the chaos. What do we do? Mia's voice trembled, breaking the silence. It could be anything out there. Jake inhaled deeply, the earthy scent of the forest mingling with the panic in the air. They had to act, but the fear of moving was a weight lifting off his shoulders. We can't just sit here. We need a plan, he whispered, his voice barely above a breath. Emma's lips quivered, her brave facade crumbling again. I don't want to die, she murmured, her innocence looming large in the tense atmosphere. None of us are going to die. Jake's voice shot out, more fierce than intended. It held a thread of desperation. We'll find a way. We just have to think. The growl echoed again, closer, like the creature was making its way around them, seeking an opening. The wolf suddenly stood tall, its snout raised, scenting the air. Jake caught a glimpse of its tensed muscles, coiled like springs ready to spring forward. Let it guide us. He said suddenly, inspiration striking. If it's protecting us, maybe it knows how to get away from whatever that is. Are you crazy? Mia shot back, panic lacing her words. What if it just turns on us? We're already in danger. We can't just sit here. He replied. Gathering the group swiftly on his cue, Jake felt the rush of determination override the fear that gripped each of them. Trust me on this. Follow the wolf. They moved out of the cover, the wolf still by their side. The growl surged through the air, louder than ever, as if it could sense their movement. Each step felt more precarious than the last, and every rustle led to a momentary freeze, hearts thrumming in their chests like wild drums. "Go!" he urged, heart galloping as they jogged through the shifting shadows. The wolf suddenly bounded forward, leading them deeper into the thicket. They followed, legs pumping and breaths mingling as they pressed through the thick underbrush. Jake risked a glance back at Emma, her brows furrowed but trust shining in her eyes as she kept pace. "Just a little further." The words slipped out as if speaking them would summon strength from within. Then came a softer sound, one that cut through the growl like a beam of light slicing through darkness, the sound of whimpering. It was muffled, but there was no mistaking it. It sent chills down Jake's spine. "Do you hear that?" he whispered, immediately silencing the group. Emma nodded, eyes wide with fright. "Someone needs help." The wolf paused, ears perked, eyes surveying the distances. Instinctively, it began moving closer to the sound, the very beacon of focus. Jake's heart raced again, this time with curiosity, blending with the fear. "Should we follow it?" Mia asked, her voice barely a whisper. "Absolutely. We might not be alone out here," Jake said, steeling himself. They pressed forward, guided by the wolf and the faint whimpers that grew louder with each step. Jake's chest tightened with urgency. But as they pushed through another thicket, ready to discover the cause of the cries, they couldn't shake the feeling that whatever awaited them might change everything. "What if it's worse than we think?" Mia's voice was laced with doubt, shaken from their earlier escape. Jake met her gaze with resolved eyes. "It doesn't matter. We can't leave someone helpless," he replied. And as they broke through to a small clearing, filled with muted light filtering through the canopy, they were finally close enough to hear the cries clearly. But as they stepped into the clearing, their breath caught. The sight ahead was unexpected. In that moment, the growl faded into nothing as a new reality unfolded before them, and Jake realized that the choice they made could lead to a rescue or a deeper nightmare. Would they find a hidden ally, or unleash something far more terrifying? The clearing opened up, revealing something astonishing. A small group of kids huddled together, muddy and exhausted, eyes wide with fear. They were cold and trembling but very much alive, and their cries pierced the tension like a siren breaking through a storm. Jake felt a rush of relief and disbelief. They hadn't just come to rescue one child, there were several, all victims of the same game of hide and seek that had gone wrong in the dark forest. "Jake!" Mia gasped, her voice a mingling otherworldly awe and desperation. They had found them children lost in the woods, just like Emily. "Are you all okay?" he shouted, his heart pounding as he approached carefully. He needed them to know they were safe. They looked up at him, faces streaked with dirt and tears. Among them was a girl with a crown of tangles in her hair, clutching a smaller boy, who trembled uncontrollably. "We thought we'd never get found," the girl cried, standing up, hope breaking through the layers of dread. "We were so scared." "No more fear. You're safe now," Jake assured them, feeling the weight of responsibility shift. "We're going to get you home." Slowly, he turned to the others, taking in their fearful yet eager expressions, a silent group united by a common goal. "Everyone, gather together. We need to keep the kids safe and get out of here." As they moved closer to the children, Jake glanced outside the clearing, feeling the presence of the unseen growl still lurking in the shadows. "Stay close to the wolf," he instructed the kids. "You've seen him before. He wants to protect you." With renewed energy coursing through him, Jake took a deep breath and steadied himself. "All right, let us form a line," he ordered firmly, and they quickly arranged into a protective cluster. The wolf led, followed by Jake, Mia, and the boy, keeping the children in a safe circle. They started moving toward the path that remained, the whispers of wind encouraging them forward. But then came the growl again, far more menacing than before. It hung heavy in the air, the forest reacting in fear and anticipation. The children shivered at the sound, gripping Jake's arms tighter. "Keep going," he urged, not wanting to show fear even though his heart raced. They pushed past the thicket, the children following the wolf instinctively, heading for safety. "No!" came the voice of one child, her voice trembling. "I heard it too. It's getting closer." Jake scanned the trees as they moved, his body tensing. Every instinct told him to keep running, but as the growl grew louder, he felt the need for a stand. "Stay behind me," he shouted, standing his ground, eyes locked on the lurking shadows. "We'll face this together. One last time." The wolf stood beside him, muscles taut and ready. Then, from the underbrush, a figure emerged in a blur, a massive silhouette bristling with energy. Jake's gut twisted, expecting the worst. But he couldn't just stand there, something deep inside him clicked. He felt his heart pound with a certain resolve as he stepped forward. "Stop!" Jake yelled, raising his voice above the roar of the winds. "We're not afraid. We just want to bring everyone home." The creature paused, shifting slightly, its growl simmering into silence as it regarded them with bright, intelligent eyes. Jake felt it, an unexplainable connection, like the creature had been waiting for someone to understand. Jake dared to step closer, pushing through the fear. "We're not your enemies. We just want to keep everyone safe." And then, miraculously, the growl transformed, an almost pitiable whimper echoed in the air. The beast blinked its eyes slowly, warm, like it shared in the weight of their fear. "Mia?" Jake said gently as he shifted. "Do you see that? It's scared too." The world felt still, tension spiraling away. With each softening growl, the creature's demeanor changed, shifting from hunter to guardian. "Jake, can we trust it?" Mia whispered, searching his face. I think it's protecting us," he replied, fully aware of the wild pulses under his skin. Before they could fully process the miracle, the wolf took a step forward, bridging the gap between them and the beast. Each child held their breath, eyes wide with uncertainty, but Jake felt something change in the air, historical, hopeful. The atmosphere shifted as if the world was opening its arms to embrace them. Then, with a gentle nod, the large beast dipped its head, acknowledgement spilling through the tension like water. "Let us get to safety," Jake shouted, each word fueled with raw emotion. The creature turned, moving along a narrow path flanked by trees, guiding them toward the way home. Clutching Emma's hand tightly, Jake felt a new resolve settle into him. It wasn't just him fighting for hope anymore. It was them together, sorting through sorrow and fear ignited by unimaginable strength. As they plunged deeper into the wood, the fears of the evening seemed to fade against the joy of connection. The whispers transformed from desperate to harmonious, their shared trust clung tightly in the air. And even as the storm raged overhead, Jake promised to carry this light forward. This journey had transformed them all, reinforcing bonds within a community desperately yearning for connection in the face of despair. Finally, as they stumbled out of the dense woods and into the warming lights of town, his heart swelled with hope. He looked back but felt no more weight, only the energy of possibilities awaiting them. "Emily," he said softly, watching her radiant smile shine bright amidst the chaos. "You're home." In that moment, amid the reunions and sighs of relief rippling through their little town, Jake realized they'd defaced their shadows, found strength in unity, and had given hope a heartbeat once more. Now they could rebuild, heal together. And every shout of joy amidst the burgeoning laughter reminded them all sometimes, even in devastation, love glowed brightest, lighting the path forward. So, let us carry this tale forward with us, support the connection that binds us all. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories that can unify and inspire. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, it truly makes a difference. Comment below with your feelings about this extraordinary ending. And please, share instantly this story with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting what matters.